Sometimes she does.
Again, I look Where'd she go?
It's 9 o'clock and I'm calling the meeting to order. Do we have a quorum?
Yes, ma'am, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Let's stand for the invocation, and I've asked Dave to give the words.
Our most gracious Heavenly Father, as your children gather about this room with bowed heads and humble hearts in a spirit of thanksgiving, we ask that you fill our minds with wisdom and our hearts with compassion, that we might make truly just decisions. Lord, as we start this new year with a new government, we're optimistic that you are once again going to fill our nation with pride and all of the things that a nation under God, indivisible, should have and achieve with equality and justice for all. In the name of your Son, Jesus, we pray, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Dan, on the minutes?
I would make a motion that we approve the minutes as submitted.
It's moved and seconded for approval of the minutes. Do we have any?
Clarification,
Yes.
I omitted the minutes for the previous board meeting of December 17th, 2016.
Yes, thank you. Clarification, yes. I don't think that changed the second over there, does it? All right. Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Okay. Do we have any communication?
We do, excuse me, we received a letter from Kathy Warm. Good morning. Dear Board, Trustees, Mr. Lawrence, management, staff, and volunteers, I would like to thank all of you for tackling the process of reactivating our liquor license and the task of restoring Dickman Hall. It has taken many years to accomplish all of this and to get funding. Wally and I went there January 5th for the special opening, January 6th for the grand opening, and again January 13th to socialize and give our support. Disregarding January 5th, when we were there The other 2 times, it was a wonderful sight to see a younger crowd there having a good time. We heard laughing, saw people talking, and we did not see anyone using their smartphone. What a rare sight. They were too busy having a good time with each other. The bar was packed with customers both times, so Wally and I sat in front of the fireplace and mingled with others that wanted to just sit, drink, and visit. People were at different tables and chairs and talking. The area is the place to be if you want to carry on a conversation. So relaxing and a little more inviting. As with all improvements with anything, I really have only one comment. The bar used to have a false ceiling, if I remember correctly. These panels helped absorb the noise factor. Now with a wood ceiling, the noise seems to bounce off of it. It is difficult to talk and be heard. Maybe when the bar starts to show a profit, management could look into buying some sound-absorbing tiles and put them up. I am sure that with good management and accurate accounting, the bar should start to show a profit in a reasonable time frame. Just take one step at a time. Take it slow and always make sure the correct decisions are made. Wally and I know we'll see other members and guests there enjoying a drink or 2 or 3 or a series of question marks. Thanks again for getting it done finally. Sincerely, Kathy Warren. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dan. Are there any seats left? Thank you for coming. I think that's great. We don't have any seats left, maybe one, okay. Treasurer's report.
Okay, I'll start with bank balances as of Wednesday, January 21st, 2017. Texas Community Credit Card, $70,663.39. Texas Community Checking, $30,258.49. Texas Community Money Market, $2,563.25. Brackettville Bank and Trust, General Fund, $127,544.03. Payroll, $14,281.82. Impound, $336,501.86. What'd I say? Oh, sorry, $386,501.86. Las Morris, $48,689.08. Subtotal, $680,501.92. Fort Clark Historical Building Preservation Fund, $35,828.53. Fort Clark Hail Damage Repair Fund, $247,176.55 for a grand total of $963,507 even. Next, bank transfers. December 2016, estimated bank and trust Las Morris, 0 for operating expense. Texas Community Checking, $68,000 for operating expense. Bank and trust payroll, $75,000. Bank and trust impound, 0. Transfers for operating expense for a total of $143,000. December 2016 actual, 2. Bank and trust Las Morris, 0 for operating expense. Texas Community Checking, $78,020.43 for operating expense. Bank and trust payroll, $64,000. Bank and trust impound, 0 for operating expense for a total of $142,020.43. January 2016 actual, 2. Bank and trust Las Morris, Texas, 0 for operating expense. Texas Community Checking, $67,851 operating expense. Bank and trust payroll, $65,500. Bank and trust impound, 0 for operating expense, for a total of $133,351. January 2017 estimated, 2. Bank and trust Las Morris, 0 operating expense. Texas Community Checking, $70,000 for operating expense. Bank and trust payroll, $65,500. Bank and trust impound, 0 for operating expense. Total $133,000. Oh. Okay, you have a correction for me? $135,500.
Right.
I move that we approve the bank transfers as read.
Second.
All in favor? Was there anyone opposed? Executive officer's report.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. To begin with, let me review just a little bit about what has happened since our last board meeting. Since the last board meeting, we have completed the annual financial audit, and that has been presented to you for your review and consideration. And since the last board meeting, we have, and I appreciate the board's decision very much, to outsource all of, or most of our accounting and bookkeeping functions. And of course, we have hired the Susan B. Newsom and Associates CPA firm out of Del Rio to handle all of our bookkeeping and accounting. And so for the last couple of weeks, we have been very much involved with Mr. Randy Galloway, CPA, in converting our books to, or should say, transitioning our books over to their hands, to their responsibility. I think that this is a very wise move, and I appreciate the board's going along with it. So we're in the process then of restructuring our internal system as well. The CPA in the last time I talked to him, Randy Galloway, which was yesterday, I believe, had indicated to me that he's still in the process of making many adjustments that the auditor needed to make. And when that is complete, he will begin the process of cleaning up the books for September, or October, November, December. When that's done, he will be able to plug in all of the data for January and should be able to produce very pertinent and informative reports for February. So you should be able to have, the board should be able to have any report that it needs, and they should be actually meaningful reports. So that will occur in February. I think it's a very positive step that the board has taken, and it's going to put us in very, very good standing, very good shape. The Dickman Bar, let me tell you, the January the 5th, we opened with a soft opening, and I've heard nothing but wonderful things about it. The bar has been well attended since. Things look to be going very well. We've been in operation maybe 2 weeks or so, and there are things that we need to improve upon. I will say that our staff, the wait staff and the bartending staff, have been thoroughly trained by our TABC, our local agent, which brings me, I need to say this to all concerned. The staff is under very strict instructions to comply fully with TABC regulations, with the laws of this state regarding bartending and waitressing. That means that they also are under instructions when anyone seems to have had too much, they are to cut them off. And that's that. They make that call, and if they make that call, that's where it ends. The reason being is because they are the ones that stand to go to jail if they serve someone who has had too much. So they're under instructions to fully comply with the TABC regulations in that regard. So, just a couple of weeks into it, it seems to be going very well, but we are going to continue to tweak it and make it a very pleasant experience for anyone who comes. we are gonna have, along those lines, we're gonna have to do something about that air conditioning pretty quick. And I think, Sandy, you have looked into.
I sent you that yesterday.
Okay, very good, very good. So we're gonna need to address that issue soon. With respect to a restaurant in Dickman Hall, I heard someone say to me, the rumor is that those conversations, those talks about having a restaurant, well, they're kaput, they're not happening. Well, no, actually, talks about bringing a restaurant to Dickman Hall are just now beginning. And I think that it's a very good possibility that we could have a restaurant there sooner rather than later. Now, you have the picture up on the wall there, take a look. We have our junior class from Bracketville High, who is in the upstairs of Dickman Hall. They are scraping and cleaning and polishing and sprucing up. Our agreement with them, under the direction and guidance of Mr. Russell Knoll, our agreement is that if they put in some labor and elbow grease, that we would allow them to use the upstairs for their prom. So they're pouring themselves into it, and it's really starting to take shape. Let's see, the next thing. Can you make it happen?
Yep. Okay.
We are technically challenged this morning.
Always.
All right, where to go? I did this well last time.
That was a great idea, whoever had it. Let them do it.
Can we do it that way? Yeah, okay. I attended the Kinney County Livestock Show last weekend. That was my first, by the way, and it was a blast. I really enjoyed that event. It's coming up, I see it. There it is. All right, well, what you're looking at is the prize of the first prize fine wool lamb that Fort Clark Springs Association, along with the pooled resources with Judge Tully Shahan and myself, and the Hyde Club Lambs operation, Kathy and Wally Warm, also Carla and Kevin Newsom, and Jan and Stan Metcalf pooled our resources to buy this lamb for $2,020. That lamb was raised by Hallie Coons, who's the daughter of David and Lindsay Coons. She did a fine job with that lamb, and she was so very proud and appreciative that we had bid on that land. What a lot of fun that was, and I appreciate the support that others gave as well. So that's our prize land, which we then turned around and gave back to Howie, which is what is typically done in those situations. So. I think I've covered everything. That would conclude my report.
Do you remember the questions or not? We'll take a few questions if you want to ask. I'm talking to the members. Have anything? Okay, moving right along. We're ready for the architectural committee?
Good morning, distinguished board, distinguished membership and audience. My name is Dave Crow. I'm the president of the Architectural Committee. And since we met here last, we've had a dozen requests, application requests for improvements. We met on the 20th of December and had only 2 permit requests. One of them was in Unit 36. It was a pole barn extension, which was approved. The other one was in Unit 24, which was a color change from yellow to light green, which also was approved. On the 27th of December, there was no meeting because of the holidays. When we came back on the 3rd of January, there were 6 requests. The first was in Unit 23, which was a re-roof, repaint, a 16 by 25 foot sunroom, and a 10-foot by 9 mudroom, which was approved. In Unit 21, there was a wood privacy fence that was all treated 4x4s and 1x6 pickets, which was approved. Unit 12, a repaint. Unit 33, a re-roof, which was a flat tar roof. In Unit 27, there was a request made for a 20 by 22 carport and an 18 by 12 front porch, which was approved. And in Unit 1, there was a permit extension. When we met on the 10th of January, there were 2 permit requests, one for Unit 24, which was a permit extension, and one for 21, which was a 350-foot privacy fence, which was approved. Then on the 17th, we met, and there were 2 permit requests, both in Unit 27. One of them was to extend a patio cover and slab. The other one was to build a carport, both of which were approved. Anyone have any questions?
I have a question about the thing you approved in Unit 36. Would you repeat that? I'm making form a better question.
Unit 36, that was a pole barn extension.
A pole barn? Am I understanding you correctly? A pole barn?
Well, not in the sense that we're thinking livestock.
What I want to find out.
Let me see if I could very quickly find that.
RV cover, basically.
Oh, an RV cover?
RV cover. I think that's what that was.
That's a lot different from a pole barn.
Well, I know, but I understand what he's saying.
Oh,
If you can't find it
No, I
at
don't
this
see if you
time,
have
will
it.
you be here when we take a break at the meeting, or are you leaving?
No, ma'am, I've got some things to do. But I would like to say one thing. Somebody asked me a few days ago, they said, now, do you folks approve just everything that somebody wants to do? No. Oftentimes what happens, we've got a really unique and neat procedure. Oftentimes what happens, in the sense of expediency, if the person making the application happens to be in the meeting, and we're considering their application, and we've already gone back and forth with different questions and different ideas, we may at the time elect to say, well, now we are inclined at this time to probably deny your request, but if you wanted to modify your plan and change it from 2x6s to 2x8s, or change it from this to that, we would go along and approve your request. And oftentimes changes get made right in the meeting in the sense of expediency. Sometimes they get tabled for one reason or another and they have to come back the next week, but rarely does one get flat turned down. If your neighbor wants to paint the house chartreuse or pink and trim it in purple or something, no, we're not going to go along with that. But for the most part, most things eventually wind up getting approval.
Just one more question.
Uh-huh.
Is this extension going to be on this member's property, or is it going to be on common property?
No, absolutely. Anything, rarely, I can't think, off the top of my head, I can't think of a variance that we have made for any reason within the last year. It does rarely happen that we make a variance against the CCNR for one reason or another, and then only when it's in the best interest of the fort, the integrity of the fort, and all those concerned.
Can I meet with you Tuesday morning to find out more particulars on that?
Certainly.
Don't call me Tuesday morning. I'll try to remember to do that.
If you'll call me and let me know ahead of time, I'll be happy to meet with you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? If not, I thank you, and
Y'all have a great day.
Thank you, Dave. Golf committee?
I'll hobble on out of here. There's a seat up front, somebody like to sit down.
Good morning, Debbie Isaacs, Golf Committee. The December figures for our golf were down again, 704 of which 456 prepaid members, 133 pay-as-you-play.
Excuse me. There are a lot of people here, and it's more difficult to hear if they're talking to each other, so please listen to Debbie.
456 prepaid members, 133 pay-as-you-play members, 74 guests, 3 students, 4 gift certificates, and 34 tournament. We do know that one of the reasons we have so many less players was because of the cold and the rain. We actually had 6 days where there were totally no golfers at all, and then another 7 days that had 10 players or less. Our average at this time of year is probably around 27 to 35 players a day. So we do now have a full year of stats, so anything you wanted to know as far as stats, we can give you that. We did meet on Wednesday. 4 of our 5 members were there. We've got some of the same issues. We've got water leaks, we've got ants, we've got trash, we've got people that are playing on the course, not signing into the course and not paying. We are diligently trying to correct these problems. As a matter of fact, all of the golf committee members now have a marshal sticker, and they will be marshaling the course, but they will have a marshal sticker on their carts at the time that they will be marshaling. So we hope that even just having those stickers, kind of like a highway patrolman going down the road, everybody slows down. We're hoping that maybe this will deter some of the people that are abusing the course. We continue to have problems with people parking too close to the greens. That's another problem. We've got markers up now. We wish that everybody would abide by those markers and go no closer to the greens. When the grass starts coming out, we want to let it have every opportunity to come up and fill in our greens and stuff like it needs to be filled in. And if people are abusing it, running over it, that does not allow that to happen. Back in October, I gave you the figures of October to October golfers on the course. Well, from January to December, the total number of golfers we had were 9,772. I think October to October, it was around 10,000 and something. But this is just strictly from January to December. So do you want to keep your stats from October to September, or do you want to keep your stats from January to December?
If we began in October, that would coincide with our fiscal year, it may be.
I mean, we can do it either way, but it just kind of, before you give out stats in October, the 1st of October, like the 10,000, and people say, oh, I thought you said 10,000 back here. It kind of, so just so we're on the same page, maybe we need to have a little meeting.
Sure.
That's pretty much it.
Thank you. Reservation?
Oh, there is one other thing. We kind of tentatively set our tournament committee, and it looks like at the end of the month and the things we've got scheduled right now, we've got 18 tournaments scheduled for next year, or this year.
Thank you, Debbie.
Morning, I'm Garland Young, Chairman of the Preservation Committee. It'll be short and sweet today. Last month, I said we were going to do the gazebo. Well, somebody went over and repaired it and painted it, so I took it off the agenda. And we won't go into what I think of the repair job, but it'll hold up until we get back to it. Then I said it was going to be the adult center would be our next project. But I got a phone call this past week, and we have a leak upstairs that's leaking down and ruining the new floor that was put into the Dickman Hall area that was just refurbished. So I'm calling a special meeting Monday to get that problem fixed. Other than that, I got nothing to
I
report.
have a question. The adult center was repainted,
It was repainted, but it was repainted the wrong color.
and what are we doing about that?
Well, we'll have to redo it. But
My-
I bought that, that was discussed, and there was a communication problem between, anyway, we got it discussed, and it has been painted, but it's gonna have to be painted gray like the post theater. But all the repairs on,
I understand, but my question is, were you aware that it was the wrong color? And if you are,
not till
how
we
soon
bought
are we
the
gonna
red.
fix it?
Well, we paint over it.
Okay, I'm just checking. But that comes under you as far as you're aware? Does it come under the,
Well, I have a question. They went back with basically as close to the color that was on it at the time of the storm.
Right.
Did we make Elite aware we were changing the color?
Well, originally I thought with the communication that the preservation committee had, originally we got copies of the contract and stuff, and then the preservation committee was gonna be kept in the loop as to how it was being progressed. And the first I heard that it got painted, you know, I just assumed that we'd be told when it was gonna be painted, and we would let you know to change the color. So it was a communication problem, and
Yeah, because I'm the one that's been working with Elite, and I had no idea you were gonna change the color to the post theater.
well, I mean, it was gonna have to be painted, so that was, you know, the insurance company would take care of it. Now it'll come out of the preservation fund.
Okay.
So that's the report for the preservation committee, and we'll get that problem fixed as far as the leak. We don't want damage done to the floors that have already been repaired. Thank you.
recycling?
Good morning, I'm Judy Winchell, Recycling Coordinator. Recycling has been fairly busy of late, and we are going to start implementing carton recycling. I've had several requests from members who have been saving their cartons, and they're kind of getting crowded at home and want to bring them to the recycling center, so we will be addressing that issue so that as we are doing the school carton recycling, we can include members' cartons too. That refers to milk and juice, the plastic coated cardboard or paperboard cartons. They must be rinsed, they must be crushed if they're coming from the fort. The school does not have that requirement, but we do because the volunteers just can't do that for you. We also continue to request that nobody leave anything at the gate, inside or outside, when the recycling center is closed. It happens sort of in waves, but it just is not acceptable. I don't know any other way to put it. People throw things with glass over the fence, the glass breaks, it's a hazard to the volunteers to clean it up. It isn't maintenance that has to do any of that, it's volunteers. So we ask, probably nobody here is doing that, but if you know someone who is, speak to them. Bill, you could give me a count on what we have up there right now?
There's about 12, 14 full ones, something like that.
Okay, so we're about a third.
Yeah.
Because we are shipping, in case anybody missed it, only full loads. We're no longer sharing trucks with Laughlin or with Del Rio. So we need 40 gaylords of material in order to have a shipment. The other benefit, to go back with this carton situation, is that we, as Fort Clark, will receive over the next 2 years $2,000 toward our shipping costs from CTRA for participating in this carton program, which will help make our shipments at least no cost. And when we send cardboard and so on, we're making a very nice profit on the cardboard. well, it's on the agenda, so I'm sure it'll get taken care of today. We have officially requested a stop sign at the end of the road leading out of recycling, because we continue to have that heart-stopping moment when someone doesn't slow down or stop before they pull out onto Skills Road, and someone is going to be badly hurt. So the stop sign, which will be official, means that if you run it, you could get fined. And that's all I have for this month. Thank you.
We have a RV report from Diana Stewart. The bicyclists are slower this past month because of the holidays. Numbers at the RV park continue to increase, with November's total of stays was 187, with 523 members and 347 non-members. They are busy with all kinds of activities. In December, they had Christmas Day with a meal and a Chinese gift exchange. Wood carvers meet on Monday from 9 to 12, Thursdays from 6 to 9. Stitch quilting meets Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 1. Bible study meets Tuesday at 10. Pancake breakfasts have started, Saturday 7 to 9, and Sunday is movie night at 7 p.m. at Post Theater. In January, they had a black-eyed pea soup on New Year's Day that Vida Kelly made, and apparently was the best that Diana's ever eaten, so hats off to Vida. Special events for January, these have actually passed, but on the 17th, they had a Red Bridge hot dog roast at 6, and on the 18th, they had the 4th annual alphabet competition at 3.
Any questions up to there?
I just want to say that the movie night is at the RV park, not at the
Oh, it is,
Post
I'm
Theater.
sorry. Got the two confused. My
There are,
bad.
yeah, there are 2 movie
Yes.
nights now. And they're both good, I understand. Does anybody want to tell me what an alphabet competition is?
No.
No? Okay, never mind.
A, B, C.
All right, Maria, you're up.
Oh,
Let me explain.
Recreation.
Did I miss recreation? Whoops,
sit down.
because I have somebody for recreation today. Carol Ann,
Although
hi.
you didn't tell me I would have to stand up here.
Oh, well, we like to get people where they can be seen.
Myrna, although Carol Ann is not the Recreation Committee, she has been very active in bringing things to the fort, revitalizing some of those. So
Yes.
I've asked her to come forward.
And people may even want to be on a recreation committee now.
My name is Caroline Goodwin. I'm the new events coordinator here on the fort.
You have to get to the microphone, that's the point of being up there.
My name is Caroline Goodwin. I'm the new events coordinator here on the fort. I do want to tell you about a couple of things we have going on. The fort is working in conjunction with the Community Council and the Old Quarry Society, and we are doing a free monthly movie every month at the Post Theater, as long as the weather is cool. We get more and more people every month. They've been doing very, very well. Community Council does the concessions. This month we had chili cheese hot dogs, Frito pies, fresh popcorn. Our next movie is scheduled for February 25th. We're not sure what it is yet, but we will be putting out flyers as soon as we know. The one after that will be March 11th and then April 8th. I'm looking into the possibility of maybe moving the movies to the amphitheater as the weather gets warmer and doing an outdoor movie in the summer and in the spring. Let's see, what else? We are working with the Church Alliance to do an Easter sunrise service at the amphitheater as it has been done in the past. The amphitheater has been restored in conjunction with Rio Grande Electric, and it looks beautiful. That will be multi-denominational, and it will be open to all, and we'll have more information on that. We're also trying to partner with the King County Church Alliance to do something for the National Day of Prayer, which is May 4th, and I'll put flyers out as soon as something is decided. I started looking into the possibility of doing a block party in springtime at the parking lot, the outside pavilion at Dickman Hall with a live band, and then moving the barbecue and the party down to the pool area. And once again, as soon as that's fleshed out a little more, I will start distributing information. I have I have business cards at the back table. If any of y'all have any questions or comments, things you would like to see, or things you think that I need to improve on, please let me know. Y'all have any questions now? Run away, run away!
Thank you, Caroline. I apologize. This time you're really up. Let me explain briefly. There has never been an actual airport committee that was official because there was never a resolution that was recorded. Thank you. So this is where we're coming from. The board has copies of the old one and new one. And so we're going to call this the first reading.
Okay.
And if the board has any questions, although they got it late, they should ask you, but we'll let you report what you've done.
Okay, great. I'll apologize that I sound like a very sick person. I lost my voice from talking so much, believe it or not. This past month, we've had a really incredible way forward as far as our committee, which hopefully will become a real committee, but also with all the interaction we've been having with other airfields across Texas. So I'm going to just read some notes. As far as our hangar, we're about 90% complete with the renovations. We're looking to put tie downs down on the airfield so that we can have planes come visit us and land and park and tie their planes down so it doesn't move. The next meeting, we're going to be asking the board to approve a designated drone area. I recently went to a conference. I'm going to move this so I'm not. I recently went to a conference where I sat down with an FAA representative and learned a lot more about drones and safety precautions. Right now, there have been reports of children that are chasing drones in the middle of a road that they lose control over, and children are getting run over. I know that some kids here on the fort have been playing with drones already, as I predicted last board meeting with Christmas. So one of the things that the airport committee has been working on is drone operations, and one of those things will be to select an area that is safe for everybody to use their drone freely, and then also for residents to feel like their privacy is not being infringed on because there's drones flying around. So we're going to presenting that. I can tell you the designated location that we're recommending, if you'd like for me to tell you now.
Sure.
Okay. The location that we're recommending is at the track. It's a wide open area where it's not easy to get to a house and feel like someone's taking photos of you, but it's a very wide space with limited trees to get in the way of losing your drone. And we feel that that's a very nice centralized location near the youth center, so that maybe the fort, if they're going to put on youth programs in conjunction with when kids are out there, that might also increase the use of that facility as well.
Aren't you going to mess up the wildflowers if you do that?
No, you won't. They're in those little.
I know there's
things.
going to be a question about that. I thought I'd throw it in.
Right, they're in a little V, and you'll have to like fall onto them if you're gonna move them up. And then the last thing was about this resolution. I condensed it down to one page, as you suggested. And how would you like for me to talk about that? Do you need me to read what the page says?
If you can't, that'd be great.
Oh, sure, yeah. I've got some voice left. It's totally fine.
We use up the rest of it.
Yeah, well, conveniently, when I lost my voice, my 4-year-old started being a little more rambunctious. So every time I tried to yell at her, I couldn't because my voice was very constricted. So she kind of laughed at me and walked away. So this is the resolution that we're going to be proposing as a first read. It's a resolution establishing the airport committee for Fort Clark Springs Association Incorporated Airport. Let be resolved by the Board of Directors, Fort Clark Springs Association, that the airport committee be established to oversee operations at the Fort Clark Springs Association Private Airport. The purpose of the airport committee shall be to develop policies and procedures regarding the safe, effective use and management of the airport, to promote aviation interests to the Fort Clark Springs members, visitors, and guests, to work with the Fort Clark Springs Administration Office to vet pilots desiring to use the airport, to assist in attracting new members to Fort Clark Springs through aviation activities. The airport committee shall consist of 7 members in good standing of Fort Clark Springs that are knowledgeable and interested in aviation. The members shall be appointed by the Fort Clark Springs Board of Directors for a 2-year term. Any vacancies that occur shall be filled by the airport committee nominating a member in good standing for an appointment by the Fort Clark Springs Board of Directors to complete a 2-year term. A member may be reappointed to the committee by the Fort Clark Springs Board of Directors. The officers shall consist of a committee chairman and secretary. The officers shall serve 2-year terms and be elected by airport committee by a simple majority vote. The secretary shall assume the responsibilities of the chairman if the chairman is unable to fulfill his or her duties or is unavailable. The airport committee shall meet within the first 10 days of the month before the Fort Clark Springs board meetings, so a report can be presented at the monthly Fort Clark Springs board meeting. The chairman shall designate a time and place for all meetings. The secretary shall keep minutes of the meetings and be responsible for written communication between the committee and the Fort Clark Springs board. A total of 4 members shall constitute a quorum. All recommendations made to the Fort Clark Springs board by the airport committee must be approved by 4 members of the committee. Meetings may be held in person, telephone, or other internet methods, i.e. email. Communications. The Fort Clark Springs Executive Officer and Board of Directors will be in communication with the Airport Committee concerning all problems and concerns with the airport. The Airport Committee will submit a monthly report to the Fort Clark Springs Board meeting in person by written, letter, or email, and will communicate any problems or concerns regarding the airport for their consideration. Concerns from Fort Clark Springs membership are required to be submitted to the Fort Clark Springs Board of Directors in writing.
Okay, that's it.
That's it.
You did well.
Thank you.
We make sure that we have a copy of that so we can get it to each of the board members.
Yes, I can.
But this does constitute the first reading, and next month we will have the final reading on the airport committee, so that we can put you in alphabetical order. Wouldn't that be nice?
I love being number 1, so it's perfect.
Okay.
Are there any questions for me?
Do you, are there any questions particularly about drones out there?
I think you better get ready for the coming storm, because they're very, very popular. Everywhere you turn, there's one, and so I think it's gonna be a problem.
It probably is, because they'll just get cheaper too. Right now, they're pretty expensive, and that makes it, kind of slows down the number, but they will get cheaper.
I'll bring my next meeting. I just bought one.
Oh,
This is what happens when you go to a conference about drones. You buy one. But I'll bring it so everyone can kind of check it out. But ma'am, you had your hand up?
I did, as Myrna suggested, the wildflower group would have a problem with that area being used for drones simply because it isn't just the boxes that are there. By natural progression, we've had a good germination of seed there, and by natural progression, hopefully with seed drift, more and more of that area is going to be showing wildflower growth as the years go by.
Mm-hmm.
Having somebody walking on it when, during the season is definitely not going to be in the best interests of the project that's already ongoing.
Well, no, I completely, I respect that. Children actually do play in that area that I have, that I've depicted.
If you're going to stay down in the playing field area,
Well, the playing field's a different area. We don't want to put kids in jeopardy of getting hit by balls if someone's out there playing with the balls. But I've seen children playing in there. My kids play near where your flowers are. And I think when you see a drone and how to operate it, like I'm gonna demonstrate it at a meeting. I'll come out here and I'll demonstrate it so you can see exactly. It's not someone isn't running around operating their drone. You're standing stationary and your drone is up in the air 400 feet or below. So we did take that into consideration because I personally love flowers, and a 4-year-old, she loves to stand there and just smell every single flower, which is really sweet. But we did take that into consideration, definitely.
You have an alternate area, I believe.
We do have an alternate area. It would be behind well, we were originally going to present 2 options, and I was advised that I should just present one. But behind where the health center is that where the adult center? That's right. The adult center. There's an open field there as well. The concern there is that there's too many trees, and little drones will be inside trees, and then we're going to have kids climbing up trees trying to get their drones and possibly falling, breaking a leg, and that's really not something parents want to deal with. Yes, sir.
Is the old driving range, I don't even know if it's still in existence or not, that would be an ideal place.
We thought about that as well. And the reason why we didn't select that as an idea was because if we're going to impose an area that someone needs to go play with their drone at, we want it to be accessible. And the last thing when there's hunting going on, that depending on where the hunting is, that area is closed off. And so then you're going to have people upset that they can't get to that location.
Okay, I think we need to have some people work together on this, so I'm going to leave you all to work it. The wildflowers is a problem as far as the gardening club is concerned. I think there are some other problems about the other ones that you have. But there may be something that you haven't even thought of, and you may need to talk to Richard about that.
Well, yeah, I actually sat down with him before.
Yeah, do some more thinking and talking to these people that have concerns, and they all sound reasonable. So I suggest you do some talking amongst each other before you bring it back to the board.
Definitely will.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Great, thank you.
Community council.
Good morning, Allison Watkinson, Treasurer of Community Council. We had a very quiet but well-attended meeting last Saturday, although we did have leftover chairs. It was our annual meeting, so we swore in our new officers, or continuing officers, Gina Forrester for president and Chuck Fields for the second vice president, and their terms are for 2 years. Melissa Simon was appointed secretary to complete Carol Ann's appointment. Carol Ann had to leave Fort Clark Springs Community Council Board because she's now employed by Fort Clark Springs Association. And according to our bylaws, you cannot be an employee of the fort and be a board member on our committee. Dennis Leff was board appointed as member at large, so we now have our 2 members at large. The members at large positions are for an undetermined amount of time. They don't serve a certain length of time. Whenever they are fed up with us, they get to leave. Under our other annual business, we eliminated the duty of the second vice president to oversee the bingo operation because we don't have bingo going on. Our financial books were sent out to be audited with a report due back by our February meeting. A check was presented to Kinney County Arts Council. Mary Frances Partlow had written a grant for the Missoula Theater Camp, and she used the Kinney County Arts Council used our 501c3 in order to write the grant, and they were awarded $1,500 by a company in Houston. And I'm so sorry, Mary Frances, what is the name of the company? Strake
Foundation.
Foundation. They were awarded $1,500 for that. We would like to thank the maintenance department for clearing the corner at the recycle center. You can now clearly see to the left down Scales Road for any oncoming traffic. We still request a stop sign at the top of the road. And we thank board member Barron for getting this on the agenda for today's discussion. Our Saturday movie, The Secret Life of Pets, which is done in coordination with Fort Clark Springs Association and the Old Quarry Society, was well attended with about 130 people through the 3 shows. Donations for the movie were $277 and concessions brought in $184. We keep these 2 amounts separate because we do pay sales tax on the concessions, And then the donations for the movie help to pay for the license for showing the movie. Each license for showing the movie is $175. So this helps us to continue showing monthly movies, and we do appreciate everybody for that. Report's already been given about the donations, the concessions we've added, and the next time we do concessions, we will also have nachos. Our next movie night will be February 25th, and we continue to work with Fort Clark Springs Association on Fort Clark Days, and although it's going to be greatly scaled down from what we had hoped for, the weekend promises to be better than ever. Are there any questions?
What's the next movie?
We don't know yet. It's the idea is because a week later it's going to be Fort Clark Days, which takes us into the past. We are kind of playing around with the idea of looking into the future, possibly with a movie on February 25th. But beyond that, we're not really sure. So if you have ideas of movies you want to see, please be sure to let us know because we can look into that. Any other questions? Board? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Allison. Our first action item is the 2017 ballot for the proposed Declaration of Protected Restrictions. Dan, would you like to take that?
You should all receive this with your notice of the annual meeting, which is going to go out where the end of January, 1st of February, sometime in there. It's the cost to actually send out the entire declaration would be prohibitive for the association. So we're sending out a synopsis of the changes a little bit and letting anyone or everyone know that if anyone wants a copy, they'll be able to come up to the front desk and request and get a copy of the new declarations. And for those folks who are not here, that's not convenient, they can go on the website, the Fort Clark website, and obtain a copy there. In order to get where the documents are, if some of you have a problem like I did getting there, you have to know. You click on the fort, I believe, and then when that drops down a menu with a couple choices, you click on membership, and that'll take you over for documents, and you can get it there. You're going to be asked to either approve or disapprove. Many of the changes, in fact, probably a majority of them, are required by Texas law for us to be in compliance with the Texas state law. And so there's really no choice. Those changes will end up being made no matter what. Some of the elective changes are highlighted here. There's things that have been removed to condense the declaration. As an example, there was a lengthy section in the current one that deals with the members taking over control of the association from the developer. And of course, that's happened long ago, and it's not necessary to have that continue on in the declaration. So that's been removed. There's been some other significant changes made, one being with the impound fund. It will now be called, if you approve this, the restricted fund, and the funds, instead of being reserved basically, except for that small portion for historic preservation costs, the rest of the fund is now restricted to developing subdivisions, which we're not into doing, and we really at this point in time cannot do that due to constraints on the acreage requirements. So some of that money will be made available and allowed for us to take care of capital improvements. We have a lot of money sitting there, and we don't do subdivisions, so it's just wasted and you pay in more. What we do not have is a fund to take care of large expenses that come up from time to time, like roofs, air conditioning. The hailstorm is taking care of roofs, but we can't necessarily count on that all the time. So that's probably the most significant change. With that, I think.
Addition of the architectural committee.
Oh, yes, thank you for reminding me. Also, the architectural committee is given status within the new declaration as it should be. That's the common procedure, as an architectural committee is not a committee of the board, but one that's established by the declarations, even though the members are appointed by the board. And so that's been dealt with, the new declaration. The architectural committee has been given status through that, and it has its procedures, authority, and limitations are spelled out. For instance, the architectural committee will, I believe, not be able to grant variances. The variances will have to come through the board of directors. They can recommend variances or recommend against them, but the board will have to say yes or no to any variances. That's a change there. I think that highlights the major changes that have occurred in it, and we would ask all of you to please respond with either yes or no. There'll be a ballot, so to speak, with these explanations there. Is there anything else I've missed?
Not that I'm thinking of.
Okay.
You could say that the board does recommend it.
That would be useful. It is on here, the board of directors unanimously recommends approval of these changes. So, thank you. We've held many workshops. We've provided opportunity for members' input over and over again. And we've had a lot of discussions, and there was a committee 2 years ago almost now that met and started this all off, and so this is where we're at, and I think we have a pretty good declaration. Thank you. I think Myrna maybe should have given this report. I failed to mention, although all this information is in the ballot,
Yeah, you can give me the same things.
the legal firm that we presently have represent us has reviewed this and given its blessings and made a few tweaks and changes that we took. So it's passed that test. Thank you.
I won't make you do this part. We are also sending out a one-page survey about security on the fort, and it's very simplified. Do you feel secure in your home? And goes on from there. We do ask that you send that back too, because that'll give us information that we can use to better make the fort your home. We do require a vote on this. Ordinarily, we would be putting the ballot straight with all of the people running for the board. This time, more pushed by me than anything else. I've been trying to get this out for members to vote on as if we were doing a regular ballot, and I thought because it's that time of year, people would expect it. Turns out the rest of the board didn't have that expectation, but they're going along with me for this. Would you like to make the motion?
I was going to make a motion for approval to send out the ballot for the Declaration of Protective restrictions as we have them set up.
Is there a second?
Second.
Choose.
I will second.
All right. Is there any more discussion? We have discussed this a bunch, so. All in favor? Opposed? Okay. On the financial committee, I don't know which of you had decided to.
It's me.
Okay.
Okay,
couple of months ago, we established an executive committee to, with Richard and Dan and me, to put together a financial advisory committee. We had a few meetings. We talked about what we want to do with it, and we advertised for interest for members of the committee. And we actually received 6 resumes from various people, and we are reviewing those. And we don't have those names ready for today. We have to do first things first, which is approving the resolution. But we do have names, and we have talked about them, and we have to talk to the people to make sure they're still interested. So, the result of our meetings is this resolution. Resolution 2017-01, Fort Clark Springs Association, Inc. The resolution reads, a resolution establishing a financial advisory committee of the Fort Clark Springs Association, Inc., a Texas nonprofit corporation. Be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the Fort Clark Springs Association, Inc., the association, hereby establishes a standing committee known as the Finance Advisory Committee. The committee will consist of 3 to 5 members, the Board of Directors treasurer as an ex officio voting member, and the executive officer of the association as a non-voting member. At least 2 of the committee members shall be association members in good standing. Committee members will be appointed or reappointed annually at the association's Board of Directors regular meeting in January by a majority vote of the directors voting. In the event of a vacancy on the committee, the association Board of Directors shall at its earliest opportunity, and by a majority vote of those directors voting, appoint a replacement to serve the portion of the vacated term. The Finance Advisory Committee, working with the Board of Directors and the executive officer, shall review all financial matters of the association, such as, but not limited to, expenses, revenues, financial assets, budgets, and audits. The committee shall report their progress, findings, and recommendations to the association Board of Directors at their regular monthly meetings. The committee shall serve in an advisory capacity only and shall have no powers or authority to act for or on behalf of the Fort Clark Springs Association, Inc. The Board of Directors and staff shall provide the Finance Advisory Committee with all necessary documentation and cooperation necessary to permit the efficient accomplishment of the committee's goals. Further, the Finance Advisory Committee members will maintain all legally and ethically required confidentiality and compliance with specific instructions provided by the association's Board of Directors. Based on that, I move that we accept this resolution.
I second it.
I'm going to ask for comments. I believe this can be considered a second reading because you've given us information several times, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So we don't need to have another reading. This can be passed as it is. Anyone else? Any other comments? That's so easy. All in favor? No one opposed. Fort Clark Days liability insurance, is that one that you're bringing forward?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
In my conversations with the, email conversations with our agent, insurance agent, I was not aware of this until yesterday, but apparently the liability insurance for Fort Clark Days was set up for automatic renewal previously, so it's already in effect. The expense of that is $2,500. I think that I put on the budget $1,500. That's my error. But yeah, the expense is $2,500, and as I said, it's already in effect. Of course, the board could cancel it if they wish. So I'm not sure that any action is needed.
I think we'll go ahead and see whether or not we want to do it again for $2,500. Anyone want to make a motion?
I move that we continue the insurance as decided by the board last year to make this a annual renewal for $2,500. We have a lot of people here on the fort, so.
You need a second before you talk anymore.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Bill had his hand.
I'm second.
I cleared it.
We have so many people that are seconding that it's wonderful. Okay, that does move it, and we do then not have to do it again next year because of the way she read the motion. All in favor? Opposed? No.
I have a related question on that. When does that automatic renewal take place? If we wanted, for instance, looking ahead to the future of next year, if we wanted to not renew it, I really never like automatic renewal things, but that's life. When would we have to take action? How soon?
I can check on the renewal date, but he did tell me that it could be canceled up to the day before the event, if we wish to do that.
Okay, so we could always shop for someone else. Thank you.
They don't much care for us, you know. Shopping for people for us is a difficult. I know, I don't either. Okay, temporary license for. Sandy, you've handled this before, do you want to take it again?
This is a letter that we send to the Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission that authorizes us to sell beer, alcoholic beverages at Fort Clark Days at a designated location booth within the Fort Clark event area. This is notifying the Texas Alcoholic Beverage that we intend to do so. And the letter reads, to the Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission, to whom it may concern, we, the Board of Directors of Fort Clark Springs Association, Inc., located at 1 McClernand Road, Brackville, Texas, do hereby authorize Las Moores Inn permission to sell beer at the Fort Clark Days Festival on our property. We would like to inform you that the dates for the sale will be March 3rd and 4th, 2017. The hours of operation will be 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. each day. The location of beer sales will be in a clearly marked event booth off of Bullis Court. We at Fort Clark Springs Association, Inc. appreciate the hard work and dedication of the Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission. If you have any further questions concerning this matter, please contact us at 830-563-2493 or via email at fcsa@fortclark.com. And I move that the board accept this letter and give permission to Las Moores Inn for beer sales during Fort Clark Days.
Second.
Bill, second. Okay,
Would you take a question on that?
in a minute. There- We need to stress that this allows only one location for it. And it may not be as in the best place, but that's what we do. Now, Mary Frances.
There's talk about having a dance Friday night and Saturday night for Fort Clark Days. And I don't know, is Carol Ann, are you still here?
I am.
And would 8 o'clock in the evening be too early if we're gonna have a dance?
Don't we have another place for them to drink?
Well, if we're having a dance at the Butcher Block, and we have our beer booth at the Butcher Block, it just seems like it would be better for our event if we did not stop selling beer at 8 o'clock in the evening. And also, I question the one location only because in the past, when we did beer for Fort Clark Days, we had a map and we had X's where we were going to. We sold beer in front of the museum. We sold it at the Red Garter Saloon, and over at the Butcher Block. We had 3 locations. Now, whether we could even man 3 locations or want to do that or not,
And whether TABC will allow it.
well, I have no idea what their new rules are, but they let us do it in the past. So I just am questioning whether we're restricting ourselves. Just because we say we're going to sell beer till midnight doesn't mean we have to. But if we put it in the letter, then we can, if it works out that we get a band and we have a dance.
Monique, to your knowledge, since you're helping put this together, is it a TABC requirement that we stop at 8 p.m.?
No, there's not.
Okay, so we could go till midnight. In the past, I was told, and one year was involved with the beer sales, and we had more booths than we were actually supposed to have, according to TABC. So that is why we've been having one for the last couple of years.
But we could ask for 2, couldn't we?
We would have to ask. We can ask. The time change is ours, so we could change the time to 12 p.m. if it's worth having someone out there at that time of night selling beer. And we do want to encourage people
Especially
to-
when it's cold, like it often is.
Yeah, and also we do want to encourage people to go to Dickman Hall as well. But if you really feel that people will actually, we have to have people that have seller server certificates man the booth. So it can't be just any volunteer. So it has to be the only ones, unless individuals, for community council, for instance, want to get their seller server certificates, then employees are the only ones that have those. So we have to have.
In the past, it really wasn't required. I remember working a 2-hour shift and
It is now.
Yeah.
It is now, especially since we have our liquor license. The rules kind of change once you get that. So.
So we could ask for 2 locations, doesn't mean we have to man them. We could ask till midnight, doesn't mean we have to stay open that late. But we would have that option if the letter says that.
Yes.
Why don't we look into it?
Yeah, Monique, can you, and then we could discuss this by.
I need you to understand that the person we're asking to do all this information and so forth on alcohol is a member of a church that does not allow use of alcohol. So I think she's above and beyond.
Could somebody else do that work for her?
No.
She's been heavily involved in this all along,
She-
including a trip we had to make to San Antonio to correct some misinformation we were given by the B.O.D TABC. So she's being a good sport. Also, please do realize that a TABC employee and agent actually lives on our fort. So we have someone here that lives here, and so we have to be doubly careful that we do everything by the book.
And it may be that if we have 2 locations, we need 2 licenses, which means additional costs, so we have to consider that as well.
Okay, at this point, though, all we're asking for is that temporary license. We don't have dates on it or hours on it that we're requesting. So do we want to approve it or do we want to table it?
I think we can approve at least the 1 location. We can always come back if there's a second location. So I think we seem to agree on that.
Does anyone else have comments on this request?
Could we take just the second paragraph, we would like to inform you that the dates for the sale will be, so on?
No.
Could we just take
Right
out-
now, all we're going to do is approve a temporary license.
Yeah, we're going to approve just this one.
We're not going to, we can change it in the future, but we're not going to change it right now.
We can change this, but we can approve the temporary license, but change this to go out.
Change it to 12 a.m. instead of 8 p.m.
Right.
It
I think.
doesn't, our approval does not require dates or times. We're simply doing a temporary license for Fort Clark days.
Right.
And I believe that's what your,
Right.
what your second meant to the motion.
I would amend the motion to read 12 to 12 p.m. to midnight each day, And that would be the only change for this initial temporary license.